The leg was rotting. Dr. Heinrich Weber was one of the Wehrmacht's finest surgeons, but he couldn't save his own leg. Gangrene was spreading fast. Death was maybe 48 hours away. Now I'm going to ask you a simple question. Does this story end happy or tragic? Write happy or tragic in the comments. At the end of the video, we'll see who was right. By the way, welcome to Frontline Diaries. Here, every day, I share incredible stories of war's unsung heroes. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. If you're ready, let's continue with this shocking story. An American doctor entered the room. He didn't speak. He just held up the vial in his hand. Penicillin. Weber froze. The drug that was impossible to find in Germany was in the enemy's hand, ready to be given to him. "Isn't this too valuable for an enemy?" Weber asked in his German accent. The American doctor shrugged. "Not valuable to us. We have plenty. You're a human being. We save humans." That sentence destroyed more than the war ever could. The beaches of Normandy were hell. Dr. Heinrich Weber was the chief surgeon of the 352nd Infantry Division. At the field hospital just behind Omaha Beach, he'd been operating for 72 hours straight. His hands were covered in blood, his eyes burned, but there was no luxury of stopping. The wounded kept coming. When American artillery fire hit 200 meters from the hospital, Weber didn't even flinch. He was used to it. But then a second shell came. This one was closer. The third shell hit the field hospital tent. Weber fell to the ground from the blast's shock. He felt sharp pain in his right leg. When he looked down, he saw a piece of shrapnel embedded in his calf. Blood soaked his pants. "Dr. Weber!" a nurse ran over. "We need to treat you immediately." Weber shook his head. "The other wounded first." "I can wait." But he couldn't wait. He didn't know that yet. 3 days later, the German defense line collapsed. Weber and his team received orders to retreat, but Weber's leg had swollen. Walking was torture. Infection had set in. "Doctor, can you make it?" a young soldier asked. Weber gritted his teeth. "I'll make it." But he couldn't. 2 days later, during the retreat, Weber's fever spiked to 104 degrees. The wound on his leg had started turning black. He recognized the smell of gangrene. As a surgeon, he knew exactly what that smell meant. Death. On June 13th, Weber and his team surrendered to American forces. They had no choice, either become prisoners or die there. When American soldiers collected them, Weber couldn't walk anymore. 2 soldiers held him by the arms and laid him on a stretcher. "Doctor?" asked an American soldier in broken German. Weber nodded. "Yes, I'm a surgeon." The soldier took notes. Then he looked at Weber's leg. His face soured. He called to another soldier, "Get this man to the hospital immediately." Gangrene. Weber was surprised the Americans recognized gangrene. Maybe they weren't barbarians after all. Maybe. When he arrived at the American POW Camp Field Hospital, Weber was in shock. The tents were clean. Equipment was organized. Nurses worked systematically. And most shocking of all, there were medicines. The shelves were full. Weber remembered German field hospitals. In recent months, they couldn't even find bandages. Surgeries were performed with sterilized rags. Morphine had run out. Anesthesia was gone. But here, everything was available. An American doctor approached Weber. He was a young man, maybe in his early 30s. He had a calm expression. "Dr. Weber, correct?" he said in surprisingly good German. "My name is Captain Robert Hayes. I'll be taking care of your leg." Weber looked at him in surprise. "You speak German?" Hayes smiled. "My grandfather was a German immigrant. I learned as a child." Weber felt uncomfortable. His enemy had a human face, a name, a story. Propaganda had portrayed Americans as monsters. But this man was just an ordinary doctor. Hayes examined Weber's leg. His expression became serious. "Gangrene," he said. "Advanced stage." Weber nodded. "I know. I'm a surgeon too. Amputation is necessary." Hayes hesitated. "Maybe. But I want to try something first." "What?" Hayes called to a nurse. The nurse brought a small glass vial. The yellow liquid inside sparkled in the dim light. "Penicillin," Hayes said. Weber's heart stopped. Penicillin. When Weber heard that word, he couldn't believe his ears. "Penicillin?" he repeated, his voice trembling. But it doesn't exist in Germany. Even the Führer. Hayes shrugged. We have it. Plenty of it. We give it to every wounded soldier, even to civilians, and now I'm going to give it to you. Weber's eyes filled with tears. But I'm your enemy. Why? Hayes looked into Weber's eyes. Because you're a human being, and I'm a doctor. I took an oath to save every human life. In that moment, something broke inside Weber's mind. For years, propaganda had told him Americans were barbarians, that they would torture captured doctors, starve them, leave them to die. But now, an enemy doctor was giving him a drug Germany couldn't find, and expecting nothing in return. Hayes prepared the syringe. This will hurt, he said, but within 48 hours your fever will drop. Within a week the infection will start to recede. We can save your leg. Weber watched silently. When the needle entered his leg, he didn't even feel the pain. His mind was elsewhere. Why, he thought. Why would an enemy spend such a valuable drug on me? He knew the answer, but didn't want to accept it, because the answer destroyed everything he believed in. The first 24 hours were terrible. Weber's fever was still high. The pain in his leg was unbearable. Throughout the night, he thought he was going mad. Dreams and reality mixed. But toward morning, something changed. His fever began to drop. 48 hours later, Weber's fever returned to normal. The smell from his leg decreased. The color began to improve. Captain Hayes checked on Weber every day, each time giving a new dose of penicillin. You're healing, Hayes said on the 5th day. We saved your leg. Weber couldn't hold back his tears. As a surgeon, he knew about gangrene cases. 90% ended in death. Even amputation couldn't save most. But penicillin had pulled him back from death. Thank you, Weber said, feeling his voice tremble. You saved my life, Hayes smiled. I just did my duty. No, Weber said. You did more than that. You reminded me of humanity. Hayes touched Weber's shoulder. War turns people into monsters. But we're doctors, Heinrich. Our job is to heal people, no matter which side they're on. That sentence settled into Weber's heart. As weeks passed, Weber began to see other parts of the camp. The American POW camp wasn't the hell he'd expected. Prisoners received regular meals, hot soups, bread, sometimes even meat. Weber remembered he hadn't eaten this well, even in the German army. Medical supplies were plentiful. Bandages, medicines, instruments, everything was there. And the Americans were giving them to prisoners, too. One day, while touring the hospital warehouse, Weber froze. The shelves were full. Hundreds of penicillin vials, thousands of bandages, morphine, anesthesia, antiseptics, everything. My God, he whispered, where does all this come from? The nurse, an American woman, shrugged. Factories. New shipments arrive every week. Sometimes we have too much. We throw it away. Weber's jaw dropped. Throw it away? The nurse nodded. Yes, the expired ones. They bring us new ones. Weber understood then. Germany had lost the war, not just militarily, industrially, logistically. America was so powerful it could throw away medicine. Germany, meanwhile, couldn't find any. As Weber recovered, he began talking with other German prisoners. One evening in the tent, an older German soldier approached him. You're a doctor, right? He asked. Weber nodded. Yes, I'm a surgeon, the man smiled. I want to ask you something. Why are the Americans treating us so well? Weber hesitated. He'd asked himself the same question. I don't know, he said. But I think the propaganda was lies. The old man nodded. I think so too. They told us everything was lies. They said the Americans were barbarians, but here they're giving us food, medicine. They even show us respect. Another soldier joined in. An American soldier gave me chocolate. Chocolate? I haven't seen chocolate in years in Germany. Weber listened quietly. Everyone was saying the same thing. The propaganda was lies. Americans weren't the enemy. They were just human. One evening, Captain Hayes visited Weber. How are you feeling? He asked. Good, Weber said. My leg is healing. Thank you. Hayes sat down. Heinrich, I want to talk to you. Weber looked at him curiously. About what? About war, about medicine, and about humanity. Weber waited silently. Hayes continued. You're a surgeon. A good surgeon, but you worked in the German army for the Nazi regime. How do you feel about that? Weber lowered his head. I don't know. I just tried to save the wounded. I didn't think about politics. But politics affects medicine, Hayes said. The Nazi regime saw people as worthless. Some people were thought not worth saving. How did you view that? Weber was silent for a long time. Then he spoke. I always tried to save every wounded person, but you're right. The regime saw some people as worthless, and I didn't question it. Maybe I should have. Hayes nodded. Questioning is hard, but now here, you have a chance to think again, a chance to choose again. Weber looked into Hayes's eyes. Why are you giving me so many chances? I'm an enemy, Hayes smiled. Because the war will end, Heinrich. And when the war ends, we'll need to rebuild the world. If we see our enemies as monsters, peace will never come. But if we see them as humans, maybe there's a chance. In that moment, the last wall in Weber's mind crumbled. After recovering, Weber one day asked Hayes, Robert, what does penicillin mean to you? Hayes thought. Hope, he said. Penicillin shows that people don't have to die. Infections used to be a death sentence, but now you can be saved with one injection. It shows the power of medicine. Weber nodded. I think so too, but for me, penicillin showed something else. What? Humanity, Weber said. When you gave me penicillin, you didn't just save my leg. You showed me that humanity still exists, that even enemies can show mercy to each other. Hayes smiled. Yes, that's why I'm a doctor. Because medicine is bigger than politics. Humanity is bigger than nationalism. Weber never forgot those words. In May 1945, Germany surrendered. When Weber heard the news in the POW camp, he felt mixed emotions. His country had lost, but at the same time, he felt relief. The war was over. No one would die anymore. In July 1945, Weber was sent back to Germany. Before leaving, he found Hayes. Robert, he said, I don't know what to say. You saved my life, and you did more than that. You taught me how to be human again. Hayes hugged Weber. Heinrich, you were always human. You just forgot. Weber couldn't hold back his tears. I make you a promise. When I return to Germany, I will heal people, whoever is sick, whatever their race, just like you showed me. Hayes smiled. That's what the world needs. When Weber returned to Germany, he saw ruins. Cities were destroyed. People were hungry and sick. There were no medical supplies. But Weber didn't give up. He began working at a local hospital. With limited resources, he treated the wounded. There was no penicillin, but he had knowledge. He had experience. And most importantly, he had hope. As the years passed, Weber became a renowned surgeon, but he never forgot. Every time he looked at a patient, he remembered Hayes's words. You're a human being, and I'm a doctor. In the 1950s, Weber began teaching young doctors. He taught them not just surgery, but humanity. A doctor doesn't just operate, he would say. A doctor protects humanity. Even if it's an enemy, we must save a sick person. Because we're doctors, and that's our duty. In 1987, Weber was 78 years old. A journalist visited him. Dr. Weber, what was your most memorable moment during the war? Weber smiled. Penicillin, he said. The penicillin an American doctor gave me. Why? Because that penicillin didn't just save my leg. It saved my soul. It showed me that even when war ends, humanity continues. That even enemies can show mercy to each other. The journalist took notes. So, what would you say to today's young doctors? Weber paused. Then he spoke. Medicine is bigger than politics. Humanity is bigger than nationalism. If you're a doctor, your duty is to save people, whatever their race, whatever their religion, whatever their side, because you're a doctor, and doctors protect humanity. Those words became Weber's legacy. Penicillin was the 20th century's greatest medical discovery. It saved millions of lives in war and in peace. But for Weber, penicillin wasn't just a drug. Penicillin was a symbol of humanity's power, a symbol of mercy's power, and a symbol of hope's power. In 1944, on the shores of Normandy, a German surgeon was dying. but an American doctor gave him a chance, a vial of penicillin, and a lesson in humanity. That lesson changed Weber's life, and perhaps it changed the world too. Because after the war, for peace to come, enemies needed to look at each other with humanity, and Weber found that humanity in a vial of penicillin held by an enemy's hand. So, did the story end happy or tragic? What did you write in the comments? Did you guess correctly? If this story moved you, don't forget to hit the like button. And to see a new Frontline Diaries story tomorrow, don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.